Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spock Connect with my review of Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. So, what is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins about? Well, it's a reboot, a cinematic reboot of the G.I. Joe franchise that focuses on the origin story of fan favorite character Snake Eyes, the Ninja Commando of the G.I. Joe team. Quick takes for rebooting a franchise. It's a good way to start. And it actually does a lot of the things that that Rise of Cobra didn't do so well or flat out did wrong. Anyway, so the cast of note, we've got Henry Golding as Snake Eyes. He's a orphan drifter who gets recruited by the Yakuza. Hones his fighting techniques and basically becomes a ninja by the end of the film. Andrew Koji as Tommy Arashikage, aka Storm Shadow. Next in line to lead the Arashikage clan. Honorable and wishes to lead the clan into the future. Does have a bit of a temper though. Haruka Abe as Akiko, who is the head of security at the Arashikage fortress. Does not trust easily. She is not. She's not a member of the family. She was brought in and raised by the family, or by the clan, but she's not part of... Yeah. Takehiro Hira as Kenta, Tommy's cousin, banished from Clan Arashikage, and out to destroy or conquer the clan. It kind of depends. I think it really does kind of depend on the way the wind blows at that moment. Iko Uwais as Hard Master, who's one of the co-leaders of the Arashikage clan, as well as Tommy's uncle. Not entirely clear if he's Kento's father or not, but yeah. Peter Mensah as Blind Master. Observant, despite the name, co-leader of the Arashikage. Ursula Corbero as Baroness. High-ranking member of Cobra as well as international terrorist. Samara Weaving as Scarlet. G.I. Joe counterintelligence agent and martial artist. Favors a crossbow, but proficient with firearms. So, our spoiler-free breakdown. Movie begins with Snake Eyes' father being killed when Snake Eyes was a kid. Snake Eyes tried to save his dad, but couldn't. This weighs heavily on him. He takes the name Snake Eyes from the fact that his father's killer says, "Hey, you know what? Here, hands him a pair of dice. Says, roll the dice. You lose, you win, you live. You lose, you die." Dad rolls. It comes up Snake Eyes. In the present, he's now a drifter as well as underground fighter. Goes basically from city to city. Fights in underground, underground type thing. Not the. It's like cage fighting. It would be analogous to things like backyard fights, bum fights, so on and so forth. Stuff like that. But it's unlicensed, unregistered. It's the kind of thing where if the cops were to show up, everyone would run. But he'll fight in an area until no one's willing to bet against him anymore, and then he'll move on. But he's recruited by Kento into the Yakuza with the promise of finding his father's killer. Then jumps forward 4 months, and Snake Eyes is working as part of an arms smuggling operation in L.A. when Kento orders him to kill Tommy, who, it should be added, earlier made fun of Snake Eyes for working in for gutting fish as part of the arms smuggling operation. Basically, they were gutting. Snake Eyes would gut a fish, stuff the corpse full of illegal guns, and put it on ice. But Snake Eyes can't go through with it, and the duo go on a run to Tokyo, where Tommy intends to induct Snake Eyes into the Arashikage clan. Turns out, however, Snake Eyes, not killing Tommy was actually part of Kento's plan. Snake Eyes is still working for Kento and basically getting closer and closer to Tommy so that he can steal a mystical artifact protected by the Arashikage. But he's volunteered to go through the 3 trials of the warrior while and yet he gets closer and closer. As he gets closer, Akiko, the head of security, mistrusts him more and more. Eventually, of course, it turns out that Kento's working with Baroness and intends to turn over the artifact to her. Scarlet gets involved. Big fight ensues. Sequel set up. A lot of stuff. And yeah, it's pretty standard stuff. So the ups and downs. I'm gonna go ahead and say this right off because this is something that even though I will defend G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, one of the things that really did irk me in that was the fact that they made Baroness's whole thing of, oh, she's really mind controlled. No. Here, she's a villain thoroughly. The fight sequences are very well choreographed. There's some really well done Easter eggs, though it would have been nice to see maybe some kind of nod to Timber. For those who may be unaware, various points in the various G.I. Joe continuities, Snake Eyes basically had a pet wolf. The costumes for Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Baroness actually were well done and looked good. They seemed to fit the concept of the character and be, as well as kind of say, yes, this is clearly this character. Kind of the thing where you could show a person a still of any of those 4, largely with no context, and generally speaking, someone might say, okay, that looks at least well, that looks a lot like this character from G.I. Joe. If they know anything about, if they're familiar with the franchise, of course. But now that's not always the case. Like with Tommy, when we first see him, he's wearing a suit. He's got the whole, the shirt collar over the suit jacket. He's got a beard. Yeah. It would have been nice to see more of Snake Eyes in the actual Snake Eyes costume. We do get to see him in it, but we don't get to see much of it. Also, would have been nice if maybe they found some way to, well, by the end of the film, make it so Snake Eyes can't talk, as that was a large part. That's always been a large part of the character. Is he's a mute, yeah, or he doesn't speak. It depends on. Again, depends on continuity. Sometimes it's a case of he was injured in a raid. Various ideas. I do like the fact that they kept the whole outsider concept. It sets up Storm Shadow really well. I was honestly afraid watching it throughout the movie. Like, are they going to skip over Storm Shadow's time as a villain? But they don't. They don't intend to. It does reboot the franchise well, and it does so in a way that I honestly would have thought to do it, which is by focusing on just one character while having a few other established characters from the franchise pop up in supporting roles. That actually worked. Again, as much as I enjoy Rise of Cobra, I can see how it does feel a bit busy, because clearly Duke is the main character, but we're supposed to also have this whole team that gets, that also gets a lot of screen time, and it does feel like it does kind of feel like it's trying to juggle too many plot lines at once. On the downside, the movie is predictable. It anything that's supposed to be done as a twist, it falls flat because it's been set up. It's been clearly set up. Some of the CG could be a bit better. The third trial, especially. In all honesty, the mystical aspects of the movie do feel a bit out of place. By and large, it did feel like they were trying to have a very realistic interpretation of the G.I. Joe franchise, which, in all honesty, is not hard to do. It's just that it's in action movies, it's a very crowded field that has that same feel. But in the mystical aspects, they just really do not feel like. It feels like the writer was working on two scripts and said, I got this really cool idea for a mystical artifact, but I can't think of a story to go. Fuck it, I'll put it in Snake Eyes. So yeah, so my final thoughts. It's a big dumb fun movie that manages to combine tropes from martial arts movies, crime and revenge dramas, and spy movies perfectly, while actually doing a good job of setting up potential sequels. It doesn't do world building the way that, say, Winter Soldier did. Yes, you get a name drop of General Joe Colton being the head of G.I. Joe. But that General Colton has never been a huge it has always been very much a background part of the lore of G.I. Joe as opposed to part of the story. But supposedly this is supposed to kick off a shared Hasbro cinematic universe. It's going to include Mask, ROM, Space Knight, and a few others, but we'll see how any of those play out. To be fair, that I think would probably make things very busy and not in a good way. I don't think that could play off as well as building up G.I. Joe with solo stories or smaller stories and then coalescing into a big G.I. Joe movie. But yeah, it's like I said, it still does set up sequels well, and it sets them up. It does this kind of sequel setup where, like, if the movie does well, then the studio knows where to go with the sequel. Already has the groundwork laid out. It does poorly. Hey, you're not left wondering, well, what happened to this? By and large, at least, you're not left wondering, well, what happened to that plot line? What about this moment? But anyway, so overall rating, I give this 3.5 out of 5. Honestly, it's almost a 4. It's just that the predictability of the story does kind of drag it down a little bit. But anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Sadly, the Snake Eyes action figure unboxing video will not be until next week because, well, that's when I'll be getting the figure. I misread the... I could have sworn when I ordered it on Amazon that said that, it would be available, it would arrive in a couple days, but I was wrong. So, anyway, as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.